Hey there, creepy peeps. Welcome to my channel. If you are new here, welcome back. If you are returning, as it is May, finally, it's time to go over everything I watched in April, which isn't a lot. So if you watched my book wrap up for April, I let you know that this past month was not that great in terms of me watching and reading stuff. I was extremely distracted, and it turns out when I have all the time in the world to watch movies and read books, I didn't want to do that. It's my favorite like day off / after work activity, and when every single day was my day off, I just did not want to do anything. So this might not be the longest monthly wrap up, but that's fine. Alrighty, so going into Letterboxd here, I had Antrim pulled up because I just watched that already. Let's go to my diary here. Yeah, as you can see, not a lot, not a lot that I watched. So just starting from the beginning, on April 1st, I watched Psychokinesis. One of my coworkers and I watched that, just doing a Netflix party with just the two of us. It's a Korean film about a man who obtains superpowers, which he uses to try and help his daughter and her friends / neighbors. There's this it's a whole thing that's kind of similar in theme to Parasite. Definitely a class war going on, although in Psychokinesis it's more of an actual war than in Parasite. There's a lot more fighting, a lot more action, and it was cool for what it was. Kind of like almost every South Korean movie I watch, it's very well rounded. It's got humor, it's got heart. This one wasn't a horror movie at all. I don't think I would classify it as a horror movie, period. But it was cool for what it was, and it's on Netflix, so if you want to watch it, then you can. And then I watched Tiger King. I actually finished it in April. I started it at the very end of March, but I just logged it on the day that I finished it. Everyone's been talking about this. You guys know what the deal is. It is what it is. Everybody's crazy, and honestly, everybody in this documentary should be in jail, and I still don't know why Joe is the only one in prison. But it was interesting to see, given that Big Cat Rescue is like a 45-minute drive from where I live, and I've been there before, so I mean, that was interesting, I guess. And then I watched the Friday the 13th reboot because I just felt like it. I think it was on Netflix. It might have been on Netflix, and I might have just been browsing, and that's why I decided to watch it, because it was there. And I don't hate this one. In terms of slasher reboots or remakes, I think this is one of the best ones, honestly. Yeah, I almost forgot how good it was too, especially that opening sequence before the title even comes on. And I remember watching that and just thinking, holy shit, that was just the cold open. But it's really good. If you haven't seen this, definitely check it out. Don't let anything like the Nightmare on Elm Street reboot dissuade you, because that was garbage. This is actually good. Then you can see I watched Onward because it was available on Disney Plus, and I didn't have a chance to see it in theaters. It looked super cute. It was super cute. I cried like a baby at the end of it. I knew I was going to. So the next day I watched Tangled, which is something that I have seen before and I like, and it didn't make me cry. And then also, because I didn't have a chance to see it in the theater, I watched Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn, because it was just something that I wanted to watch when it came out and I just didn't have the chance. And I thought it was cool. I don't have a lot of knowledge or experience with superhero movies. I'm 15 Marvel movies behind. So I don't know how much I can judge it on being a superhero movie, but I thought it was cool for what it was. I liked the style of it. I like Harley Quinn as a character. And then I watched Monster Squad, which was for Azul's movie challenge. This is the only thing for his movie challenge I watched this month. So I will be playing catch up this month for that. So this was for Stan Winston week, I believe. And this is the first time I've actually seen Monster Squad. I've never seen it before. And it was good. I liked it. I feel like it was one of those things that you probably like it a whole lot more if you remember watching it when you were a kid, which obviously I didn't have that experience. Very Goonies-esque. I understand why people like this, especially if you grew up watching it. I can totally understand why you would get that. It was just one of those things where I was like, this is cute, but I don't feel like the nostalgia pull for it. You know what I mean? So don't hate me because I didn't like give it 5 stars, but then I watched Scream 3 because it was on Netflix, or I just felt like watching it. Honestly, can't remember, but I watched it. This was not even a month ago, and it feels like it was like 5 months ago. You guys know what I'm saying. And then I watched The Craft. It's The Craft. Do I have to explain that one? Not really. Then I watched Napoleon Dynamite. I think it was from Murder Party that I watched at the end of March, and I think I compared that to Napoleon Dynamite a little bit. Was it that one, or was it something else? I don't remember what it was. There was something that reminded me of Napoleon Dynamite. Yikes. The fact that I can't remember and it wasn't even a month ago. And then I watched House of a Thousand Corpses, which is one of my favorite movies ever. I love this movie. Watched it with my patrons for one of our movie nights. I just fucking love this movie. And it was fun to watch it in a group setting with people who have seen it before, because the only other times I've watched this in a group, it's me showing this movie to somebody else for the first time, which I love to do because this movie starts off relatively normal and it just gets crazier and crazier as it goes on. So I love watching that transition of people being like, okay, I'm kind of into this. And then once it starts getting a little bit kooky, I just love seeing their expressions change. And then I had a very weird double feature. Both of these were on Netflix that I remember. Corpse Bride and The Roommate. Obviously, both of these I've seen before. I realized I don't like Corpse Bride all that much. I mean, I gave it a 3.5 out of 5. It's not terrible, but in terms of like Tim Burton stop motion-y sort of things that he does, I don't like this one as much. I do like that there's a character in that named Victoria who isn't a bitch and isn't a bad character, because literally if you have a Vicky or a Victoria, they're always the downer, they're always the mean girl, and I hate it. And then I rewatched The Roommate because it's been a long ass time since I've seen this movie, and wow, it was not that good. And then I watched We Summon the Darkness, which I did a review of. I'll link it up here if you haven't seen that. I did like a come with me review because I really missed going to the movies. So I just kind of, you know, did the same concept, but in my house. And then you'll see I watched Mother and Black Swan. Both of those were for Does This Offend You? It was our 2-year anniversary this past month. And I gotta say, it's one of my favorite episodes. I know I say that about every single episode, but this one is definitely one of my favorite episodes. It was just really fun. It was fun to talk about 2 movies that we both really, really like. And yeah, if you haven't seen that episode, I'll link the Does This Offend You playlist up here. And then I watched The Craft again. Why? Because I wanted to do a Netflix party with my coworker, and we watched The Craft, and it was awesome. I was just apparently just in a witchy fucking mood this past month. I don't know. And then I had another very weird double feature night with 2 documentaries, both of which are on Hulu, by the way, if you're interested. The first was Wrinkles the Clown, which is kind of hard to describe. It's partly about this scary, very real clown, Wrinkles the Clown, that apparently parents can hire to come scare their children to get them to behave. And then the documentary goes off on a tangent about how like urban legends and myths are created almost, which is super duper interesting. I thought the movie was okay. If you've seen it, you know that there's like a twist or a turn in the documentary where it just completely changes. I think the first half of the documentary, they were repeating the same thing over and over again. But once that twist hit and they started exploring this idea of like something going viral, especially like in urban legends in like the internet age, that was so fascinating, and I wish that had taken up more of the documentary and that first half was shortened a little bit. Also really cool, Wrinkles the Clown is from Florida, and he has a 407 area code, which means like he's like potentially less than a 2-hour drive away from where I am. So me and Wrinkles could be friends. And then I watched Hail Satan, which is a documentary about the Temple of Satan, religion, activism, the separation of church and state. It kind of encompasses all of these things, and it's just really fascinating. I mean, oh, it's the Satanic Temple. Sorry, my bad. But it's kind of stuff I already agree with anyway. I'm not a Satanist. I'm not a part of the Satanic Temple, but I mean, I don't disagree with them. It is just really interesting to watch, and like I said, both of those documentaries are on Hulu right now, so if you want to check them out. Next, I watched Salem's Lot and A Return to Salem's Lot. Both of these were requested of me by my patron Eric. So you may be looking at my 3-star rating and are like, Vicky, the fuck is wrong with you? Clearly everybody loves Salem's Lot. Actually, there's a lot of 3-star ratings, so I'm not feeling so bad about this anymore. Okay, never mind. So what had happened was I sat down to watch this movie. I did not realize that Salem's Lot was a mini-series. So I'm getting ready to have a double feature night with Salem's Lot and Return to Salem's Lot. And then it turns out I'm gonna have to sit through a 3-hour thing just for the first one. So after about 90 minutes into Salem's Lot, I got extremely bored and extremely distracted because I just wasn't mentally prepared to sit down and watch a 3-hour film. Or a miniseries, which is what it is. So I'm gonna give this one another shot. The book actually is part of my reading challenge this year, so I might read it next month so that way I can rewatch the movie immediately after, because I definitely want to give the miniseries another chance because I really, really liked the way the vampires looked in the movie. I was just not prepared for 3 hours and it wore on me. Like I just got really bored and really distracted. So I was not in the right headspace to watch it. I should have just not watched it that evening. Then I watched A Return to Salem's Lot, which like, I just don't understand how this one is even in the same realm as the other one. Like I feel like they are just on 2 opposite ends of the spectrum. Why is this movie a thing? I know I just said that I like barely paid attention to the first one, but I feel like the tone, the difference in tone between these 2 movies is insane. This was awful. It's just weird. I don't know. I didn't like it. I did not like it. And then I watched, or rewatched, I should say, XD Hair Extensions, which was requested of me by Miko, one of my patrons. I've reviewed this one before. 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, not too long ago. So this is my second time watching it. And I gotta say, I kind of forgot about how weird the movie was almost. I feel like when it comes to Japanese horror, you have like your Japanese horror classics, like the ones that like really terrify people, like Ringu, Ju-on, you know, like your staples. And then you have like the really weird shit like House, Tokyo Gore Police. And I feel like Hair Extensions is kind of like right in the middle of that. Like, it's weird, but not House weird, you know? But I felt the same. I gave it a 3-star rating the first time I watched it, and I stuck with it this time. Like, it's just one of those, like, it's not the best I think that Japanese horror has to offer, but it's not the worst either, so. Okay, and then I watched Ed Wood, which was requested of me by Melissa. So this was cute as fuck. Definitely funny and also a little bit sad. I assume portions of this were dramatized for the movie because, I mean, they always are. But this was just like such an enjoyable story to watch, and one that I didn't know. Like I've seen Bride of the Monster and I've seen Plan 9 from Outer Space, and I know like Plan 9 is like the worst movie ever made or whatever, but I never knew about Ed Wood as the director, so this was really interesting to see. Also, I mean, star-studded cast, but seriously, who did Martin Landau's makeup? Because he looks so much like Lugosi, it's a little bit scary. And then I watched Castle Freak, which was requested of my patron, Kevin, requested of me by Kevin. There we go. So I'm not gonna lie, when I saw it was directed by Stuart Gordon, starring Barbara Crampton, starring Jeffrey Combs, I was expecting something a little bit kooky, a little bit silly, because I associate them with Reanimator and From Beyond. I was not expecting something so dark. Still kooky though, but that's Lovecraft for you, so. And then I watched As Above, So Below. Again, a rewatch. It was on Netflix. This is one of those movies that I rate it higher and higher every time I watch it, because it's just a good movie. I don't know why I didn't hate it the first time I watched it, but I don't know. It's just like one of those that like, I always forget how like decent of a found footage horror movie it is, and just how like good of a movie it is. Besides that one really awful CGI part with like her dad or whatever. I wish that part was not in there because it's just so terrible, but other than that. And then this last one I'm not going to talk about, 0.0 megahertz, because this was the movie I intended to review before Ben suggested I watch Antrim. So I'm going to do a full review on this one next week. So I'm not gonna tell you why I gave it 2.5, but there's a little sneak peek for you there. Alrighty, so that's everything I watched in April. I know it wasn't a lot, but like I said, it was just with everything going on, I just didn't feel like watching anything. I don't know. You think it'd be the opposite, but. So let me know, you know, the best and the worst of the stuff you watched this past month in the comment section down below. Big thank you to my patrons for suggesting those movies that I watched at the very end of the month. If you want to find out the other perks to becoming a creepy patron peep, you can follow that link in the description. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're new here or if you've been lurking. I post videos Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Thank you for listening to me talk. I will talk to you again very soon. Until then, though, stay strange. Bye.